Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? La 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 loo loo loo. Let me know in the chat if you can hear me. Yes, you can hear me. All right, great. I'm Caleb Jones. This is Alpha Male 2.0. Sorry about the audio problem there. Sorry, I got to start all over here. I got to rewind my brain. Freedom-focused lifestyle design for men. How to date multiple attractive women long-term with no lying, no cheating, and no drama. And having a location-dependent business that frees you from your 9-to-5 job, gets you location-dependent, and frees you from your collapsing Western country. This is the freest lifestyle available to the modern-day man in the collapsing era in which we live. And my God, if you are an American living in America right now, I'm glad I'm not you. Your insane president just attacked the second most dangerous country on earth, and now the odds of war and or terrorism, both these things have just increased 10x for you Americans living in America. And again, if you say Kamala would have been worse, you prove my point about how stupid this whole thing is. All right, anyway. This is today one of the more important podcasts I have done, or I will do, and I don't normally say this. This is a 4th or 5th installment in an unofficial series I have been doing starting last year about how to kill your former self and replace him with a new version, a new man who can accomplish the things that you want. And I don't know exactly how I'm going to say to you what I'm planning on saying to you today, which is normally not my problem. One of my superpowers is I can take a topic that I know well and I can talk about it for 45 minutes, hour and a half, and it's good. Today's different. So I don't know where we're going to end up today. I have an idea. I have a core message today, but I don't know where we'll end up at the end of this podcast. So we're going to go on a journey over the next few minutes and we'll see where we end up. This is a much more emotional topic than I generally talk about, number one. Number two, 95% of my content, including my books and stuff like that, is it's not for me, it's for you. I mean, in fact, I even say this in Freedom Fortress in my book, the last book. I say it in the first chapter. I say, look, this isn't for me. I've already done all this. This is for you. What I'm going to talk about today is for me and for you, because it's something I'm going through right now. And it's something many, many, many of you are going through right now because I've talked to a lot of you. And I know you're going through this. And if you're not going through this, you will soon. Especially if you're an American living in America. But even if you're not. Yeah, see, you can tell I'm struggling here about where to start. So, transitions. Right now, and I've talked about this many times, I'm going through a transition. It's lasting several years that involves a lot of pain and struggle to get to a certain endpoint that I want, a certain set of goals. There's about 7 or 8 of them that I want to hit by April of 2026. And I'll give more details about how I came up with that in a few minutes. And if I don't, then remind me in the chat, because again, I'm not sure where I'm going with this. When I was in my early 20s, I made a transition from employee Caleb to business owner Caleb. And it was a painful transition I had to make. And I went through a lot of pain and suffering during that transition, but it was worth it because then I had my own business and I wasn't a slave to be an employee. And I didn't have things like 90-Day Business Builder and I didn't have a Caleb helping me. I was kind of on my own. So I made a lot of mistakes. And however, that being said, that transition wasn't super difficult for me in terms of pain and suffering. I went through pain and suffering during that transition. But in terms of the overall pain and suffering, it wasn't humongous because I'm a natural business owner. Some business owners are born, some are made. I was born that way. I was always destined to be a business owner and not be an employee because that's just how I was born. And so it was a more natural transition for me. There are many successful business owners and entrepreneurs who were not born business people. They were born 9-to-5 employees and they had to change, they had to convert into being a business owner. That's the entire point of the 90-Day Business Builder program, is to take people who are not business owners and turn them into business owners. My dad was like that. My dad was not a born entrepreneur. He was a tried and true, dyed in the wool, employee type guy. And he just suffered. And he said, finally, I got to figure out how to start a business. And he did. And eventually it took him a long time. He became a self-made millionaire. So he had to convert from a 9-to-5 job man to a self-employed man. I had to make that same transition myself, but it wasn't as difficult for me because I was always kind of in my head, if that makes sense. Okay. So then I said, oh, thank God that's over with. That transition is over. And was it worth it? Yes. Oh my God. Especially now. You don't want to be an employee right now. With AI and the collapse of the West, being an employee is the stupidest thing you can possibly be right now. So I'm very thankful for that transition. Then several years later, I went through a much bigger transition, probably the biggest transition I've ever been through in my entire life, probably the most important, but not the biggest. Well, maybe the biggest, definitely the most important. And that was from beta male Caleb to alpha male 2.0 Caleb. This happened in my early 30s, 32, 33, somewhere in there. And I've told pieces of this story many times and many different factors. I'm not going to tell the whole story, but I'm going to summarize it. The goals I set when I was in my early 20s was, as a beta male, was I want to have a hot, or at least cute, blonde wife, traditional monogamous wife, of course, because this is when I was a beta, stupid. I wanted 2 children, a boy and a girl. I wanted to make $100,000 a year or more. Now, this was the 90s, so $100,000 a year back in the 90s was a lot of money. You could live really well on $100,000. Today, you're fucking lower class. You make $100,000 if you live anywhere near a major Western city. But back in the 90s, $100,000 a year that was cash. That was good living. Okay, $100,000 a year, my own business. Have my own business. Fourth thing, have a big fancy house, and drive a big fancy car, and have my wife drive a fancy car. By the time I was about 28 years old, I had all those things. The only thing I didn't have in terms of these goals I was working at my 20s was a big fancy house on the beach. It wasn't on the beach. It was the top of a hill. It was very nice neighborhood. But it wasn't on the beach. But other than that, I had everything I wanted. And as I've talked about in other places, I was miserable. So from 28 to about 32, 33, I was miserable. My marriage was shitty. I hated my work. I hated my life. I was overweight and out of shape. I was unhappy. I was stressed out. I was working 70, 80 hours a week at work I didn't like. There was constant financial pressure every month. I was making all this money, but I was spending too much money. I was in massive debt, huge debt. Very unhappy. And I was very confused. And I said, what? I did everything. I hit all my goals. Why am I so unhappy? What the hell is going on here? It doesn't make any sense. So again, as I've talked about many times, I'm just going to summarize this. What I did is I took the day off work one day, just in exhaustion. And I took my laptop out to a very nice park. It was the summer in Portland, Oregon. This is before Portland, Oregon was a shithole. This is around 2000. When this happened, I was 33 years old. So this is around 2005-ish, somewhere back then. And I sat down with a blank Word document on my laptop, sitting in this beautiful park. And I made my vision, which I talk about in The Unchained Man, alphamalebook.com. And my vision, your vision is, as I talk about in that book, 1, 2, 3 pages. It's a description of your perfect life if it was perfect. How much money do you make? What does your income look like? What does your business look like? Where do you live? How do you live? What does your woman life look like? Exactly. I have an OLTR and 3 FBs, and they look like this. Or what I have three MLTRs, or whatever it is. Okay, your physical health, exactly how you look, how you behave. Your family, do you have kids? How many? I mean, like, what does your house look like? What does your car look like if you have one? Okay, all this stuff. You write it all out, and that's fodder when you create your mission, which is different than your vision. But I wrote out my vision. I didn't have that term back then, but I used a technique from my mentor back then, Brian Tracy, called zero-based thinking, where I talk about this in my books as well. You delete everything out of your life. You don't say, starting from here, what's my perfect life? You delete your entire life. So if you have a wife, kids, business, car, jobs, debt, it's all gone. Your life is empty. And then from an empty space, you then create your perfect life. And you can put pieces back in later if you want, but you don't start from where you are, because that taints your thinking. Well, I have to take care of my mom. No, you delete your mom and you start from zero. Okay. And that's what I did. And wrote out my perfect life. It was about 2 pages long. Every aspect of mine with details, numbers, detail. I mean, it was detailed. And I rewrote it and I read it again. I rewrote it and read it again. It took me about an hour and a half. And when I was done reading it, I'm like, yes, this is what I want. And to my shock and horror, I read that and I realized that other than my 2 children, everything in that document was completely different than the life I had built for myself. And I went, oh my God, I have just wasted I have just spent the past 15 years of my life building the wrong life for me. Why? Because of societal programming. I was building a life that I was supposed to have, not the life that I wanted. I talk about this in great detail in The Unchained Man. Okay. So I was horrified. I'm like, oh my God, for me to change my life into this, it's going to be a fucking nightmare. And it was. And that was the beginning of a very painful transition for me, where I suffered a lot and people around me suffered a lot, transitioning from beta male to alpha male 2.0. Many of you are going through this right now, or going through aspects of this right now, and you're in pain and you're suffering. And I was there, and it took a few years. Now, it wasn't all pain and suffering. Some of it was amazing. Some of it was getting laid with really hot girls. That part was good. But I had to do a number of things. I had to get divorced. And my divorce wasn't horrible, but it wasn't good. It was what I would call the typical American divorce, where the woman, I have a lot of anecdotal data because I talked to a lot of men and women who get divorced because of part of what I do for a living. And so it was the typical divorce I see is the woman is in the Western world. The woman is screaming, raging mad, and is doing everything she can to make everything worse. And bad mouthing you to your kids and trying to get her attorneys to delay she's fighting. And the man just wants to fucking move on. That was my divorce. It lasted 2 years. It was terrible. There was some physical violence on her part, which I've talked about in other places. Two incidences really quick from that divorce that were the worst for me. One is, I told this story before. I'll summarize it very quickly. I had movers come over when I knew she was going to be out of the house for 4 hours, because I wasn't going to get divorced right in the middle of her, because she would lose her fucking mind, possibly get violent again, and do all that in front of my kids. I wanted to avoid that. So I figured out my schedule. Okay, she's going to be gone for 4.5 hours. And that's when I had the movers come over to get all my shit out of the house. And when they arrived, I said, all right, fuckers, we have exactly 4 hours to get all my shit out of that truck and get the fuck out of here. Otherwise, my wife will show up. And I told him to leave my wife. And I said, it's extra $100 in it for you if you get it under 3.5. And we said, right, does that go? And they went, and thank God they did it. And I helped them. We packed up the truck and we left. I'm like, okay, that part's over with. Now I got to deal with the fallout tonight when she comes home. But for the moment, we took care of this. Then I got to the apartment. And as they're moving stuff to the apartment, I go through my stuff and I realize I forgot my black box. So back then, this is 20 years ago now. I don't do this anymore. But back then I had this fancy little cardboard black box, and I was under my desk, and I kept all my financial stuff in there, like my checks. This was like, 2007. We used to use things called checks. You may have heard of them. Checks and deposit slips and checking account information and credit cards and debit cards. It was in this little box. I didn't have a safe back then. One of the most important things in my entire life, my entire financial life, and I left it at the house. And I said to the movers, holy fuck, I gotta go. I forgot something. I'm gonna go get it and come right back there. Just load the shit in the apartment, and if you have furniture, just put it wherever you think it goes. I don't care. I'll be back in 45 minutes or whatever it was. And I got in my car. Thankfully, I drove a nice fast sports car back then, and I hauled ass 80 miles an hour back to the house to get this one thing. Like one of the most important things. Of course, I forgot it. And the whole time my heart is beating. Oh my God. If I am there while she arrives and comes home with my kids, it's going to be the worst experience of my entire life. What she will do and what she will say, and she'll do it in front of my kids, which is the worst part. I'm trying to save my kids this pain. So I remember, and this was 20 years ago, my heart just thumping in severe. And again, I'm not an alpha male. I'm a pussy beta. I'm terrified. I am so scared. And my heart is pounding in fear. Have you ever had that experience when you were like a younger kid? So I get there, pull up the driveway. She's not home. Run in, grab the box. There it is. Run out, get in the car, and peel out and drive off. And I'm like, okay. Then the next horrible experience was later that day when she came home, and of course she lost her fucking mind and saw my clothes were gone and all my stuff was gone. And she calls me in a screaming and ranting. And I was stupid. I was a beta male. I answered the phone. I shouldn't have done that. But I answered the phone, and it wasn't about what she said to me. Of course, I knew she'd be pissed. It was my daughter, who was 8 years old at the time. And my daughter, I could hear in the background screaming, crying. And there's nothing I can do about it. And to this day, she's in her mid-20s. She still has trauma from that event. She can't remember it in detail, but I remember hearing her screaming. God knows what my ex-wife that day said about me or said about the scenario when she came home and saw the stuff missing and she lost her mind. I've talked about this. This was 2007. going through divorce, going through all these transitions. What happened in 2008? Global financial crisis. I lost 60% of my income because I wasn't Alpha 2.0. And I went through massive financial problems, tax problems, debt problems, divorces. And then I'm trying to figure out how to get laid. I'm going on dates. I'm trying to have a positive attitude. I'm trying to figure out how to date multiple women all at the same time. That was my big thing. That part was good. I started getting really good at that stuff. So it wasn't all bad, but it was a horrible, painful transition with full of suffering that I suffered and that people around me suffered. Now, was it worth it? Yes. If it had gone, that was probably a 2 to 3 year transition. If it had doubled the amount of time, it still would have been worth it. The life I live now is because of what I did back then. And I'm very thankful to 2007 beta male Caleb, who made that change, even though he was terrified and went through all that pain and suffering. I'm very thankful to him. Now, I had to kill him because he wasn't capable of doing what I wanted to do. Cover that in a second. But the painful transition I went through to go from beta male to alpha male 2.0, regardless of how painful it was, and it was painful. Two things. One is, it wasn't all painful. Some of it was awesome. Some of it was amazing. By 2008, when I'm hooking up with like hot 18-year-old girls without paying them, they didn't have sugar daddy game back in 2008. This is like within a year. I'm like, this is great. So some of it was awesome and some of it was awful. Number one. Number two, it was worth it. And I had to keep telling myself, sometimes unconvincingly, during this pain and suffering, Caleb, this is temporary. You got to get through this, man. And it sucked. It sucked. It was not fun. Some of it was fun. A lot of it wasn't. And I had to go through it. And then finally by 10-ish, Alpha Male 2.0. 10x better life in all respects. Financially, happiness, sexually, personally, my relationship with my kids, it all got better. Physically, no, I was still overweight. Matter of fact, I think I gained weight. That's a different problem. So I said, okay, thank God that's over. No more transitions now. I'm set for life. This is what I said in 2010-ish. I'm set for life. Yay! I'm all done transitioning. I'm whatever I was, 40 years old, and I'm done, man. The rest of my life's going to be smooth sailing. Woo! Awesome. Wrong. Then I had another transition. Now, this one was a lot easier. I had to make a transition from location-dependent Caleb to location-independent Caleb. So Alpha Male 2.0 means location-dependent, or else you're not Alpha Male 2.0. So I was partially location-dependent, not 100%. There's still a lot of my income based in Portland, Oregon, that I had to physically go do in Portland, Oregon. So I had another fucking transition to make. This was a business transition. Increase my online income. Take my consulting practice and put it abroad so I can consult with clients remotely in other countries. Take my consulting practice and convert my existing clients in the United States to location-independent clients. New systems in place, lots of difficult conversations, lots of bullshit, lots of new things I had to try. That's when I started blogging and things like this. And it worked. Now, was it a horrible, painful transition? Not really, because again, if it's a purely business transition, historically speaking, today's a little different, but historically, those are easy for me because I'm a business guy. That's my I've talked about my background. I talk about most men are good at either money, women, or fitness. You're naturally good at one of those three things. My natural good thing was money, or at least business. So it wasn't a difficult transition, but yeah, went through that. Then I'm like, okay, good. I'm done. Done with transitions. Thank God. I'm Alpha 2.0, 100% now. Thank God I'm done. Wrong. Another transition comes along a few years later. This is the MLTR Alpha 2.0 Caleb transitioning to a OLTR Alpha 2.0 Caleb, settling down with an OLTR wife. So for about a decade, I was hooking up with FBs and MLTRs. Had a great time. My plan in 2007, 2008 was eventually I'm going to end up with another wife, but it'll be a non-monogamous wife under my rules instead of societal's rules. And this will happen sometime next 10 or 15 years. And that's exactly what happened. I was very fortunate enough to find a woman who almost literally is the perfect woman for me, Pink Firefly. And so I told the story 10,000 times. She started as an FB, then transitioned to MLTR. Then we had the big OLTR talk. She passed. OLTR, girlfriend, not move-in wife for several years. Then she moved in, we got married, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So when she moved in and we became a married couple, I had another transition to go through. How do I live with a woman when I haven't lived with a woman in, 15 years? How do I live with a woman who is non-monogamous? Never done that before. So that was another transition I had to make. And those of you who know who live with a woman, when you first move in together, those first few months, first years, you go through some growing pains because you have to adjust your lifestyles with this person you've never lived with before, especially if one of the two people is going through a transition to that's a transition she went through, monogamy to non-monogamy. She had never dated a non-monogamous man. No woman has, with rare exception. I mean, today a lot more, but back then, nobody. She was a normal monogamous girl. And so she had to transition to having this husband who fucked other women every week. And so she had to transition to that while living with me. And we had a few problems, nothing major, thank God. We're very compatible. We're very complementary. And most importantly, both of us want the marriage to work, and we're willing to put in the work or the transitional stuff to make sure the marriage works long term. That was the difference between Pink Firefly and my first wife. She was the more traditional American wife where she just had her arms folded, said, well, this is all your fault, so you need to straighten up and then your marriage will be better. I'm not doing anything. Fuck you. So Pink Firefly is very different. If she needs to change or put in transitional work, she will do that because she's awesome. But that was another transition I had to make. Okay. And a lot of it was good. Now that transition was mostly good. I love Pink Firefly. She's really hot. I love my FBs. Pink Firefly likes to watch me have sex with FBs in front of her. I can't really complain. It's not like, you got to understand this too. This is suffering in terms of my context. Oh, wow, you really suffer. What a horrible life, Caleb. I understand that. But I still had to go through shit. Not a lot, but some. Because it was another fucking transition I had to make that involved pain and suffering. Was it worth it? Yes. I love having Pink Firefly in my life as my wife, my OLTR wife, not my monogamous wife. Shoot me in the fucking head. I'm never doing that again. OLTR wife, it turned out better than I planned. In all respects. In all respects. I'm extraordinarily impressed with what I have done and, frankly, what she has done. She's extraordinary. Very happy. It was worth it. Again, it was worth it. Then I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'm settled down. I'm settled down with the woman I'm going to be with, hopefully the rest of my life. No guarantees. Let's give it a shot. Odds are pretty good. We've been together, 12 years now? We're still together. Alpha male 2.0, making all this money, living a great life. I'm done. I'm done with these goddamn transitions. Finally, I'm 48 years old, or however old I was. 46, and I'm fucking done. Oh, thank God I can just live my life. No. Nope. By 2018-ish, I've mentioned this, I was making more money than I ever planned on making. I set a whole bunch of financial goals for the past 20 years before that, and I had exceeded all of them. Like, I'm making more money than I never thought I would make. My biggest financial goal prior then was $20,000 a month. And I thought that was insane. Like, oh my God, $20,000 a month. I mean, I'll be rich as fuck and I'll never need to, I make orders of magnitude more than that now. And I was in 2018. And so, as I've talked about, in 2018, the summer of 2018 specifically, I had to make a decision. I said, look, I have two options here, and they're both good. There's no right or wrong answer. I can just chill and ride on this income for the rest of my life and just do what I want. And this is good money and just do what I want the rest of my life, not retire. Retiring is stupid. Retirement is a fake concept developed by Germans late 1800s because of their economy back then. Retirement's ridiculous. Please don't even think about the word retirement. It's ridiculous, but you can certainly cut back or change the nature of your work. And so I said, well, I can do that right now. Or I can go for the big money. What I define big money, we all have different numbers and we all have different contexts. So what to me is big money? And I didn't know what to do. And this is unusual for me. I'm a very decisive person. I don't usually hem and haw. And I had to wrestle with this decision for about 2.5, 3 months, which I've never gone through in my life. I usually make decisions within a few seconds. I'm like, all right, let's do it, or let's not do it. This is strange for me, but I read a lot of books. I talked to a lot of coaches. I talked to a lot of men wealthier than me. I joined several very expensive coaching programs specifically to help me figure out this decision. Um, the books, if you were curious, the ones that really helped me make this decision were Dan Sullivan. Those who know who he is. He's the head of a program called Strategic Coach, a very high-end coaching program for high-income guys and women. And today now he's starting to write books that he's publishing traditionally. You get them on Amazon now, but back then he only wrote little booklets, and there were like 30 of them. And you had to join his coaching program to get these little booklets, and they were amazing. And I read them, and there were several booklets he did on ambition. By the way, Dan Sullivan's one of my mentors today. I've got about 4 or 5 mentors. All of them are very rich guys in their 70s who are really good physical shape. Those are my guys I look up to. And so, but he's one of them. And he had several booklets on the topic of ambition with specific like science and numbers and mindsets. And they really opened my eyes a lot. And also I thought about my 2024 goal. So in 2009, I had set a big goal 15 years out to stop doing certain things and start doing other things and move into the next phase of my life. Every man has 3 phases. Breakout phase, when you're a young man, which means you break away from your mommy, daddy, girlfriend, and boss, your job. That's phase 1. Phase 2 is your empire building phase, which lasts the longest. That's where you build your infrastructure, you build your business, you build your investments, you build your woman life, get the way you want. Phase 3, when you're older, is the self-actualization phase, where you become the best man you can possibly be now that your empire is built. And so my plan was to make that transition in 2024, or close to it. And I actually made a commitment to my audience on my blogs in 2009. Everyone's like, are you going to still write? Here's what happened is that back 2009 was the pickup artist world. And what would typically happen is you have these famous pickup artist guys write blogs. And as soon as they got a girlfriend and got married, they would vanish. You never see them again. This happened with Neil Strauss, and it happened with, what's the day game guy in New York? I'm drawing a blank. Happened with lots of guys. And so everyone said, well, that's going to happen. You're just going to leave. Especially when I said I'm engaged at Big Firefly. Oh, great. You're going to leave and never talk it. I said in 2009, I make a commitment to create Alpha Male 2.0 content till at least 2024. And I always do what I promise. So I did it. Anyway, even though I was married, and because I'm never going to get monogamous, I'm not these guys, these standard red pill pickup artist guys who bang a bunch of girls and then they get monogamous. And then it blows up in their face and they get divorced, and because that doesn't work. Anyway, so I thought about that in 2018. So finally, after 2 or 3 months, I said, all right, I'm going to go for the big money. And I defined exactly what that meant. I'm going to transition to the 3rd phase of my life. And I said, and I wrote out all the things that would mean physically, spiritually, financially, in my woman life, what all that looked like. And I said, that's only in a few years. I need 2 more years. So I extended that from 2024 to April to my birthday, 2026. So that would be 8 years. Give me 8 years to get these things in place. And so I did that. And so I've been working on that. So for the first few years, I focused on those goals, but I didn't know what I was doing. And I did a lot of things wrong. And I created all kinds of problems that would happen later, which I'll talk about in a minute. So I did them, but I didn't do them well. I didn't pay attention to them like I should have, and made a bunch of mistakes that were, now I was making so much money and had so much money, these mistakes wouldn't manifest for several years later, which they did. I'll talk about in a second. But I kind of farted around with those things. I wasn't hardcore serious the first few years working on these goals. Then next transition. Transitioning from American Alpha Male 2.0 Caleb to Five Flags Alpha Male 2.0 Caleb. This happened in 2021. So again, many of you, if you've followed my content for a long time, you know this. I said forever, I'm moving out of the collapsing USA in 2025. I've been saying that since 2012, and I always do what I promise. 2025, I'm leaving this fucking country. This country's going downhill. And all the Americans said, what do you mean? Everything's fine. Back in 2012 or 2016, but Trump will fix it all. How you feel now? Anyway, as I talk about it in Freedom Fortress and The Unchained Man in my books, a bunch of things happened, especially with the pandemic and the riots and Trump and Kamala and the pandemic. And I said, all right, I'm not waiting to 2025. Fuck this bullshit. I'm out now. And so it was more than just moving out of the United States. It was converting to a complete Five Flags lifestyle. multiple residencies, multiple bank accounts, passports, all that stuff. And learning from past experiences of transitions I had made in my life, I didn't want to spend years and years and years and years suffering. So I made the bold decision in 2020, in the middle of the pandemic, by the way, I'm going to front load all this into 1 year. I'm going to take 1 year, 2021, and I'm going to get all this shit done. And I did that. And I documented it on my YouTube channel, all this stuff. I flew all over the world. I would go to Armenia, then I go to Panama, then I go to America, then I go to another place in America, then I go back to Armenia, then I go to Dubai, and I would fly around Mexico, and I'm just going Paraguay, and I'm setting up all these flags, all these attorneys, all these bank accounts, all these corporate structures, residencies, passports, and working with Andrew Henderson and Nomad Capitalists, and just a lot of people, working with Vincenzo, and I mean, tons of people. I can name 20 people I had to work with. Blew my fucking brains out in 2021. I got sick 4 times that year. I don't get sick 4 times. I get sick 0 or 1 time a year. Got sick 4 times, got COVID at the end of the year. Did a YouTube video while I had COVID to demonstrate that it was no big deal, because it wasn't, you pussies. But prior to that, I had the cold. I got a cold or strep, I don't know. Because I was traveling in place. Gained weight again. Fucking mess. It was now again. Like with my transition from beta to alpha 2.0, there were some exciting aspects to this. Loved Dubai, loved Armenia, still do, love Paraguay. There's some woman stuff in there that was kind of fun. I love traveling. So there was an excitement and an adventure to a lot of it, but it was extremely painful. And I suffered that year. I went through a lot of shit that year. But by the end of the year, it was all done. So January 2022, all done. And now my 5 flag shit is set for life. I am set for life. For that 1 year, the ROI is peace and security for the rest of my life. Unlike you fucking Americans living in America, you're going to get bombed or terrorist attacked because of Trump. I don't have to worry about any of this stuff. That's why I've been so chill last few years, because I don't care. And Americans and Canadians and people in the UK like, ah! I'm like, I don't give a fuck, because I took 2021 and I internationalized my life completely. Not just passports and residencies and all that other stuff, but also my woman life, my personal life. I internationalize everything. My financial life, my investments, everything. Crypto, everything. I'm Mr. Internet. I have 2 different homes now. I have 5 different residencies. I got other stuff I can't talk about publicly. It's great. I did it all in 1 year. So it was worth it. The suffering I went through, and I suffered that year. It was a rough year. It was worth it. Spent a lot of money. Got all that shit done in 1 year. Normally, the things that guys do in that 1 year that I did would normally take at least 3 years, sometimes 5. I did it all in 1. So it was another painful transition I had to go through. And it was worth it. Then, 2023, a few things happened. One is the problems that I had started prior by not paying attention to certain new business techniques and projects and things I was working in my companies, caused a bunch of problems. And so in 2023, specifically starting in June of 2023, June? Yeah, June. So 2 years ago? Yeah. All kinds of shit happened at the same time. I discussed this many times on podcasts and live streams I did at the time. You can go watch those if you want. First thing, serious problems in all of my companies. I have several companies, some of which have nothing to do with Alpha 2.0 or Unchained CEO or this stuff. Serious problems. And each company had a different problem. And I'm like, whoa, they're having all these problems at the same time? Holy fuck. Okay, so that happens. And so I'm scrambling to fix all these problems. In the middle of all of this, I go through a very big transition with my wife, which I talked about on my PDM video. You can go watch that video. That was very painful. That's in the middle of all these business problems. In the middle of that, I completely injure myself. I don't know what this is called. The inside of your elbow. I didn't tear them literally. I did something to them and fucked them up. So just doing this, searing pain was awful. Months. I couldn't work out. I couldn't exercise. I couldn't do the elliptical because you're moving. I could do the bike kind of. So I can't exercise. I'm in searing pain. All my companies are experiencing all these fucking problems. I'm going through this very painful transition with my wife. I got to move Pink Firefly back to the United States with her dog and all these boxes. And okay. And then on top of all that, I look at the calendar and I go, oh my God, I'm only 3 years away from these big, giant fucking goals. It's not one goal, by the way, that I have in April. There's about 7 or 8 of them. 1 or 2 physical goals, 1 or 2 personal goals, about 5 or 6 very complex, very extreme financial goals. And I'm like, I'm only 3 years away and I'm nowhere near. That's not true. I'm not nowhere near, but I'm nowhere near as close as I should be by now. I am way behind schedule. And for the last 2 years, not consistently, not every day, not every month, I have been in this transitional period. Let me rewind this. Hang on one second. Something else that happened in 2023 with all these problems that I've never had. This never happened to me before this consciously. I had some very strong conversations with myself. What have I said 10,000 times? Jim Rohn, if you're hard on yourself, life will be easy on you. If you're easy on yourself, life will be very hard on you. And most Western men are very easy on themselves, and so they have horrible lives. I'm very hard on myself, which is why my life is fucking awesome, even during these transitions. I had conversations with myself, and I said, are you the kind of, here are the 7, 8, 9 things you want for April 2026. Here they are. Caleb, I said this in 2023 and 2022 and a little bit in 2024. Are you the man who has the ability to accomplish these goals right now? Is that you? And I said, no, can't do it. I can't lose 65 pounds. I've tried for 30 years. I can't do it. I can't make this amount of money. I can make this giant amount of money, do it all the time. But this giant amount of money, no, I'm not that kind of man. I don't have the discipline. I don't have the skill set. I don't have the drive. I don't have the. In my personal life, I want to do this. Am I the kind of man to do that? Yeah, I can do that. Girl stuff, I can do that. I said, yeah, I can do the girl stuff. The physical stuff and the business stuff, the financial stuff, no, I'm not. Then the question was, can you become that man? Can you transform into a different kind of man, a better version of yourself, to be the kind of man who could accomplish these things? And I hesitated. I didn't say, yes, I can. I said, well, this is how I said it to myself. You have to have conversations with your subconscious sometimes. I said, yeah, it's going to be really hard. Then my brain answered, well, then that's what we got to do. So maybe what we start to do, Caleb, is we stop focusing on the goal, because you, especially with your fucking weight, you dumbass, and stop focusing on the goal and instead focus on making you the man who can accomplish the goal, which means you now have to transition again into a man that you are not. And Caleb, it's going to be painful. I said, well, yeah, that's why I kind of don't want to do it. It's going to be painful. I don't like pain. I like happiness. I teach happiness. And my brain said, is it worth it? And I said, yes. And I said it like that. Yes. Well, time to get to work again. And then I have all kinds of questions like, I'm in my 50s by then. I'm like, I'm in my 50s. Really? Is this kind of transformational shit makes sense in your 20s and 30s, maybe your early 40s? Bro, this is me talking to myself back then. Bro, I'm 50. I'm in my 50s. I'm an old man. Is this the time of my life to make these amazing, just Superman level transitions? Shouldn't I be this is societal programming creeping back in my brain. Should I be kind of slowing down now and just taking shit easy and enjoying life? I'm old. Had all these doubts. I then went on to suffer for the next 2 years. Not every day, not every month. I don't want to overstate this. I still live a fantastic life. I live a life I wish I could, better than I ever thought I would have. Most men I know wish they had my life. And so I'm not like, oh, my life sucks. That's not what I'm saying. My life is amazing with a lot of pain and suffering occasionally over the past 2 years. Still to this day, right now, I'm going through shit as part of this gigantic transition. And unlike these other transitions I've had in the past, this transition has gone consistently, almost consistent for 2 fucking years. 2023, the last 6 months of 2023 was fucking terrible. 2024 was, again, I live a great life, but within that context was painful. 2024, a little less pain, but some pain. This year, 2025, a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, lots. I'll give you specifics in a minute. And I got another 9 months to go, at least. I have a timer. I use Notion to manage my stuff now. And on my dashboard in Notion, the first thing you see is a timer. Deadline to April 20, 2026, which is my big goal. And it shows months, weeks, days. I got about 9 months. I was freaking out when I had 3 years. Now I have 9 months. I go, ah. So I got another 9 months of this. Now, there's no guarantee I'm going to hit all these goals in 9 months. I might hit some of them, and I may have to fucking keep going after 9 months. More pain, more suffering. Let me be more specific. And again, you guys, a lot of you are going through this right now. You're going through your own suffering. A lot of you guys right now are going from beta male to alpha male 2.0, and it hurts, and you're suffering. I know you guys. I've talked to you. A lot of you guys are going through a divorce right now, or a breakup from a woman you live with. A lot of you are going through that right now, and you're going through suffering. You got all the one-itis feelings. You're feeling terrible. A lot of you guys are trying to convert your monogamous girlfriend or monogamous wife into a non-monogamous, and you're going through pain and suffering, aren't you? A lot of you guys starting your own business. Some of you in business builder, some of you not in business builder. You're trying to figure out how to niche, and it's scary, and you're suffering. A lot of you guys are trying to internationalize, and you're having all kinds of problems getting out of the collapsing USA, cuckoo Canada, suicidal Europe. You're having all kinds of barriers and problems with your family screaming at you, and you're suffering, and you're going through this pain because you're going through the transitions. Some of you are fine. Great. I envy you, sort of. When you go through this pain and this suffering, which you will go through, you have to have conversations with yourself. You have to be tough. So on my end, the last 2 years and over the next year, I mean, what I'm about to describe is not happening every day or every month, but it's happened. You have, this is me, when I say you, I pretend I'm talking to me. You have horrific discussions with people you work with, because not only do you suffer, everyone around you suffers when you go through these transitions. The people you care about the most suffer. They suffer with you, which is harder because you love these people. These are people I work with, people in my family, my wife, my other girls. So you have these horrible, really uncomfortable conversations with people you work with, people you work with for years. And people are angry and they're screaming. And it's your fault, because everything in your life is your fault, including me. Everything in my life's my fault, core concept of what I talk about. And then you work with these fucking, banks and attorneys that are just fucking nightmares. And you work on this project for a month and they lie to you and you have to start all over again, and fuck. And then you set up new business segments in your companies. You set up new funnels. You set up new sub companies. And because you're new at them, you don't know what the fuck you're doing. So you spend thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, and they don't work, and you lose it all. And you got to do it again next month. Thousands of dollars. And if the cash flow of the business doesn't support that, you got to pull it from your own investments, which you said you would never touch. And you're pulling money in your investments. You're putting these new business models, and you spend thousands and thousands of dollars, and you lose it all again. And you look at these profit and loss statements and these balance sheets and these financial statements, and the numbers are going down for the first time in your life instead of up. And you scream, what the fuck is this? And then on top of that, you're going through transitions with your wife and your women. And so you're on the phone with your wife, the woman you care about more than anything else in the world. I'm talking about me now. Pink Firefly, I love her more than I've ever loved anyone, including my own parents and my own children. And she's crying on the phone, and it's my fault. It's your fault. And you're 5,000 miles away from her, so you can't hold her and comfort her. All you can do is listen to her cry. And you can't comfort her physically because you're not there. You can't be a beta male pussy and say, okay, I'm sorry, I won't do it. Please don't divorce me. You can't do that. That's not your life. And you have to suffer with her. The one person you don't want her to suffer at all. She's suffering because of you. And through all this, much of this, you're in physical pain because you've torn up your arms because you were lifting weights like a 25-year-old, even though you're fucking 50. You can't do that anymore, you dumbass. And your fitness coach has warned you and you said, I'm a tough guy, I know what I'm doing. And now you're physical pain. On top of all this shit going on, you're in physical pain. And then you're fasting to lose a bunch of fucking weight that you should have lost 30 years ago. And you're starving. And your entire body is screaming at you to eat something. Your body, your soul, your mind, all three are in alignment saying, Caleb, what the fuck? What do you do? You're killing yourself. You got to eat. And you can't, normally when you're in times of stress, Caleb, you go eat shit. You don't have that option. You can't do that now. You can't eat. You're drinking the fucking electrolyte like water. It tastes like shit. On top of all this is happening, let's say, for years on end. And you have to keep going. You can't stop. You can't say, okay, I give too much of a pussy. I can't do this. You can't do that. And you have the conversation again with yourself. I am suffering. I am in pain. I don't like this. This is all wrong. This is bullshit. Here's the other part of this. I don't need to do any of this. I could have years ago said, fuck it. I'm good. I don't need to I'm choosing to do this. Why? And you go out on your patio in Dubai. We're doing this in Dubai, looking out the building. So what the fuck am I doing with this shit? Is this happiness? I teach happiness. What? And then your brain starts talking to your subconscious. Well, do you still want your goals? Do you want the goals for April 2026 or not? Do you want them or not? It's a yes or no question, Caleb. Do you want them or not? And I said, yes. Thank God I said yes. Now, if I had said, God, I don't know. I don't know if I still want them. I got to deal with this? I don't know. Or if I said, well, kind of. Because a lot of you do this. You go through pain and suffering. Your brain says, do you still want it? You go, I don't know. Not if my wife leaves me. Because you're a puss. So at least I'm suffering as an alpha male. Do you still want these goals, Caleb? It's a yes or no question. Yes or no, do you want these goals or not? And my brain said, I said, yes. Thank God I said yes. Because that would have been a weird conversation. I said, well, I don't know now. And if I had said, I don't know, then I would have had a very different conversation. All right, well, what do you want? Let's reevaluate. Let's change what we're doing. But I didn't say that. I said yes. Then my brain said, is it worth it? The shit you're going through now, because Caleb, you're not done going through this suffering. This is going to keep going for quite a while. You want the goals. Are the goals worth this suffering? The suffering you've gone through the last 2 years, the suffering you're going to continue to go through for at least another 9 months, if not longer. Listening to your wife cry. Now, she doesn't cry every day. This is a one or two time scenario, but it still hurts. The chaos with your businesses, losing money on new shit, the physical pain, the physical suffering of fasting, all this stuff you're going through. Is this pain and suffering worth those goals? Yeah. And again, Caleb, this is how I talk to myself. It's a yes or no question. Not like, well, but, it's a yes or no question. Is it worth it or not? It's worth it or it isn't. So yes or no, is it worth it? And it wasn't a quick answer. I had to think for a minute. I said, yes. And it was a weaker yes. It wasn't like, yes. It was like, yeah. Because I was, beaten down by that point. And I said, yeah. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. Then guess what, asshole? I said to myself, you keep going. You keep going. When you're in pain, when you're suffering, when people are screaming at you, including people who love you, when people are crying, when you see numbers you hate, when you lose thousands of dollars, when you have a project and you bust your ass on it for 3 months and it just crumbles into nothing because some company lied to you or fucked it up. And now you got to start all over again and do it again. And when you spend thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars out of your investments into these new business models, and they don't work and they don't work and they don't work and they 6, 7 months, they don't work and they don't work and they don't work. Guess what you're gonna have to do? You're gonna have to keep doing it. You're gonna have to suck it up and keep doing it. So, Caleb, let's figure out a way as you're transitioning into a new kind of man, and here's the good news, as of now, I am 80% done with that transition. I am not the man I was 1 year ago. The man I was 1 year ago couldn't lose this weight. He didn't have that ability. The man I was a year ago, 2 years ago, to not have built these business models that I now have that are starting to work, he couldn't have built them. He didn't know how. He didn't have the focus, the effort, the motivation, the power, the strength. He was a cool, tough guy, but not like this. I'm not done. 80%, maybe 70%. As you're transitioning into this new man, as you're killing your former self, my 2018 self, which I've talked about in prior podcasts, what I'm doing now is in the process of killing 2018 Caleb and replacing him with self-actualized Caleb, which will be the Caleb, hopefully April next year, 2026. Self-actualization Caleb, the best Caleb could be. For example, self-actualization, if you didn't know, means being the best man, best person you can possibly be. You can't be overweight and be self-actualized. That's not the best you can be. That's why I got to lose the weight. You have to make not just how much money you want to make, but more than you want to make. Your personal life needs to be on a scale of 1 to 10, a 10, 9.5. Can't be a 7 if you're self-actualized. That's why the empire building phase takes so much time. Self-actualization is a hard work. Once you're there, you're there. Great. And you just maintain. It's a lot easier to maintain this shit than to build it. Trust me. Ugh. Where was I? So as you're moving into this new man, we need to also work on stress management, emotional management, time management, which you're already good at, Caleb. All these other things so that you don't just crumble going through this suffering. And most men would have already crumbled a long time ago. Within 1 month, they would have crumbled. Yeah, within 1 week, that most guys would have crumbled. We need to manage that too. So then we started talking about me. I say we, me and myself, me and my subconscious, about things like meditation, my 3x5 card method. I've talked about a lot of other topics. I've talked about a lot of topics I haven't talked about. Managing your emotions, exercise, sex, sleep. I now get even more sleep. I don't set an alarm anymore. I don't set an alarm. I sleep, and when I wake up is when I wake up. And if I have to sleep for 9 hours, I fucking sleep 9.5 hours to make sure that I'm 100% optimal physically, mentally, not just mentally, but emotionally, to deal with the suffering and the transitions I'm going through. I need all the help I can get. I'm meditating twice a day most days now. Hardcore. A bunch of other stuff I'm doing. Here's the good news. And here's what I know for sure, because I've been through this several times now. Is it worth it? Yeah. I'm already, even with the suffering, I'm still the happiest or one of the happiest men I know. Even with the suffering, because that's the testament to Alpha 2.0 lifestyle. Next April, when all this shit is done, hopefully, and if it's not all done, most will be done. Whenever I accomplish these 7, 8, 9 goals and I move into the next phase of my life, you have any idea how happy I'm going to be? Do you have any fucking idea? Not just because I have these new things, but because the transition's fucking over with. So is it worth it? Just like I asked myself in my darkest moments. Yeah. And I know it's worth it because I've already been through this. I made the transition from beta male to alpha male 2.0. It was more than worth it. Thank God I did that. I made the transition from location dependent Caleb to location independent. Thank God I did. From collapsing America Caleb to 5 Flags happy awesome Caleb, who's protected long term from all kinds of shit. These are all worth it. Never once on any of these transitions I go, man, that just wasn't fucking worth it. The only thing I've been through that wasn't worth it was my first marriage back in my 20s. That 9 years I was married as a young, stupid beta. That wasn't worth it. That was stupid. But I was young and stupid, and thank God I cut it off after 9 years instead of drag it on for 20 or 30 years like a lot of men do. A lot of men I talk to, maybe some of you. If you need to accomplish anything significant in life, whatever that is, converting to 5 Flags, converting from beta alpha 2.0, converting from monogamy to non-monogamy, starting a business when you never started a business in your life, you're going to have to go through a transition where if it's a big transition, you have to kill your former self, which is very painful, and replace them with the new version of yourself, which is awesome. And or transitioning the results in your life, including new habits and new conditions and new everything. And it's going to suck and it's going to be painful. You're going to suffer. Alex Ramosi has and you have to manage the suffering. You can't go, oh, this is uncomfortable, I'm done. That's what most men do. They're called beta males. I can't move to Mexico. There's cartels there. Those are called beta male pussies. Trump will fix everything. I can't do that. My wife will leave me. They don't have to transition. They can just sit there and stew in their misery for the rest of their lives. They're fucked. And that's 90% of men, which is why I've said consistently since 2009, I don't care about 90% of men. 90% of men are going to go down with the ship. They're going to get blown up by Iranians because of Trump. And there's no convincing those guys. It's the 10% who have to go through these painful transitions. And it may not be as painful as it is, or it was for me. Some of you are much closer to alpha already. Some of you, it's going to be worse. Some of you are so beta, converting to 2.0 is going to be a lot of work and a lot of suffering, and you're going to hate it. And guess what? It's worth it. And you have to learn to manage the emotions as you're going through it. And I've already talked about most of these things. Exercise, meditation, testosterone, TRT, sleep, getting laid with hot girls. Even if you got to pay for it, you older guys. This will all help. I do all this stuff regularly. Alex Ramosi has a quote. Alex Ramosi's like a quote machine. It's fascinating that he exists. He said, the greatest skill in life is to be in a good mood when there's nothing going on to be in a good mood about. Because I've had to do that many times over the past 2 years, including recently. And I'm going to have to keep doing it. Odds are you will not be able to tell when I do these live streams if I had a good day or a bad day. Most of my days are good. But if I'm having a really bad day, you probably can't tell. Because I can do that. I can keep up my emotional control and the blessing that is outcome independence, which makes all this a lot easier. Ben Affleck, one or two more things and I'll get to your questions. I saw a little clip of Ben Affleck, of all people. He's an alcoholic. He's been a raging alcoholic for his whole life, and it's caused all kinds of problems for him. Ben Affleck is one of these people where you watch him in any interview, within 2 or 3 minutes, you're like, that's a really unhappy guy. He's very unhappy. You can tell. Anyway, so, it's like Jordan Peterson. Like, this is a really unhappy, stressed out guy. Anyway, he said something that I don't agree with 100%, but the thought was very interesting. And I thought about this a lot. He said, talk about his alcoholism. He said, look, I've been an addict my whole life, specifically alcoholism, but he was talking about addiction in general, drug addiction and other things. He goes, I've been around addicts. I've been in recovery with addicts. I have friends who are addicts. My family, I know a lot about addiction. He's like, this is something I know about. He said, this is what he said. I don't agree with this 100%. This is what he said. He said, there's only one cure to addiction. There's only one. You'll hear about 10,000 of them. None of them work, he said. There's only one, and that is suffering. You just have to suffer and suffer and suffer and suffer and suffer for a long, 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 long time and suffer. And finally, you fucking snap and you go, oh my God, I can't do this anymore. All right, I'll go through a horrible transition so I don't have to suffer anymore. Do I agree with 100%? No, but it's an interesting concept. It's not completely wrong. And you have to make you have to reach the point where one of my mentors, Brian Tracy, used to say, when the pain of changing, it's still a lot of pain, but when the pain of changing is less horrible than the pain of staying the same. One of my mentors from a long time ago is a man named Nito Quibane. He's kind of retired now, but he's an old man now. I think he might even be dead. Anyway, his big thing was, he didn't make this up. I don't know where he got this. In life, we make a choice between two evils. You got to pick one of these two things. The pain of discipline or the pain of regret. Discipline meaning you got to do shit you don't want to do all the time. You're going to have, and that's painful. Or you look back and go, oh my God, my whole life has sucked and I wish I had this. You're going to have to do one of those two things. One of those two things are going to happen to you. And he said, I choose pain of discipline. That's right. So that way I have to regret. I have no regrets. Or that's not really true, but same thing. The pain of making the transitions is worth eliminating the current pain you have, which was the case I needed when I was beta male to alpha 2.0. So there's two possible, I think, what's the word? Two possible reasons. Reason's not a big enough word, but I'll use reason. Two possible reasons to make these transitions. One is because you're tired of being in pain. That was my transition from beta male Caleb to alpha 2.0 Caleb when I was 33, 32 years old. I was in such pain the latter years of, late 20s, early 30s. And also, I just wrote a blog article about this, alphamale2.0.com/blog, the pain of being a beta male as a young man and not getting laid and looking at pretty girls. And I wish I could have sex with pretty girls. That's very painful for a man. Today, they call them incels. You have millions of men are suffering this pain because they're pussies and they don't want to get off their ass. So I wanted to remove the pain and get to happiness. That's one reason for transition. The second reason, the one I'm going through now, is I'm already happy. I want a higher level of happiness, and I want to nail that in for the rest of my life. That's what I'm going through now, because I don't need to do the shit I'm doing now. I don't need to. I don't need to do any of this, which is the craziest part of this transition we're through now. Is I needed to become alpha 2.0. I needed to do that. I needed to get location dependent. I needed to move out of the collapsing United States. I needed to do these things. I didn't need to have an OLTR wife. I didn't need it. I wanted it, but I needed it. I didn't need it. And these goals, I don't need these goals, but I really want them. It's part of my mission. It's part of the long-term planning I've had some last 20 years in working toward these goals. 20 years, yeah. That's it. I'm suffering because I'm going through transitions. And if I can deal with the suffering, you can too. And if you need to make a change in your life, and the vast majority of you do, and you know what changes do, I don't need to tell you what changes to make. You fucking know. If you're unhappy, you know why. And it's one of these things. It's converting from monogamy to non-monogamy, or starting your own business, or leaving the collapsing West, or the overall transformation from beta to alpha 2.0. Or going through a breakup divorce. It's one of those 4 or 5 things probably you are either going through now or you're going to need to start. And you're going to be suffering and you're going to be in pain and it's going to suck. And during that, you need to keep going. But while you keep going, you need to manage your emotions and your outcome independence. And remind yourself that it's worth it. I know that for a fact. Alpha Male 2.0 is worth everything. And by the way, this is nothing new. I said this in the Unchained Man, the original version in 2014. Hey, you could I just posted a blog article just yesterday, where I say it's easier to be a beta. Yeah, it's easier. It's miserable. You'll never be happy, but it is easier. I could have just stayed a beta male. I could have just stayed in that horrible marriage. And today I'd be, a very fat, very depressed beta male. I wouldn't still be married to that person by now, but I'd probably be in a new monogamous relationship with some fat, ugly woman who yelled at me all the time. And I'd be a location-dependent IT consultant living in Portland, Oregon. Jesus Christ. And I'd be miserable. I could have done that. Didn't need to. Had to in my heart. I'll end with this. And I've said this before. I don't believe in an afterlife. If you're a hardcore Christian, hardcore Muslim, you want to disagree, go ahead. You have no data to disagree with me. You have no basis. But all right, fine. I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe there's no afterlife. This is all you get. This life is all you get. And if you're going to go through life being a beta male or monogamous or living in the collapsing Western world or being an employee and constantly worried about getting laid off because of AI and I hope Trump will fix it and oh my God this and oh my God that and what if my girlfriend this and what if, or God forbid you're an incel, you're not getting laid at all. You're going to go through that. You're going to live your life like that. You've destroyed the gift that you were given. The odds of you existing are 1 out of 11 trillion. Research it, look it up. It's true. The odds of you existing are 1 out of 11 trillion. That's the gift you've been given. The gift of life. It is a gift. You're going to waste all that if you choose to not go through any of these transitions. And this is my story. Most of you do not need to go through 6 or 7 huge transitions to be happy. Most would be a lot happier with a lot less than what I'm going after. I'm a pretty ambitious guy. I'm an extremist. So the majority of you get your location independent business, get it to 85,000 a year, get 1 MLTR and 1 FB on the side, you're good to, and get out of the collapsing ones, you're good to go. That's probably all you need. There's a percentage of you who are maniacs like me. Well, you better get to work and you better start suffering. David Goggins style. Start suffering so you can get your goals. And as I keep saying, you don't have a lot of time left. Now you really don't. Okay, that's it. Answer your questions. I just got a massive promotion at one of the Magnificent Seven as a software architect, $320,000 a year. You don't get $320,000 a year, Ben. You have to divide that in half because of the taxes you pay. You don't get 33. You don't get that. No. What's half of that? You get 160,000, right? 160 or something like that. Yeah. How much? How do I get free from golden handcuffs? This is so much money. No, it's not. 160K after taxes, and you're a slave. You're a fucking slave. And that's why they give the money for you to stay. And the fact that you ask the question, you know the answer. So everything that's talked about applies directly to you. You get the hell out of there. If I join United Business Builder, would you be able to help me with this TRT telemedicine niche? No. I understand you made millions with healthcare already. I don't know if I've made millions in healthcare. Oh, yeah, I actually have. Yeah, technically, yeah. No, if you come in United Business Builder and say, this is the niche I want, it might not be a correct niche. We might say, sorry, you can't do that. Also, if it's B2C, we will not let you do it. You need to do B2B. So if you have a preconceived idea of what you want in Business Builder, the odds are good we won't be able to do it. So the answer is probably no. Worst case, we would have you start a B2B business, get you thousands of dollars in a few months. Then you quit your job. Then you start your TRT B2C business as your passion business, as your second business. That's the plan. Is subcontracting out maids' jobs in New York City a good niche? Is highly profitable? That's not a niche. It's pretty much an open secret that many celebrities are in open relationships. That's always been the case, yes? So why don't they come out and publicly announce it, especially nowadays? Societal programming, societal programming, societal programming, societal programming. On my blogs, I have confronted, sometimes publicly and usually privately, famous guys on the internet, in pickup artist, in red pill, and in other areas, athletics, famous men who are totally open in their relationships, but they pretend to be monogamous. And I call them out and say, what the fuck are you doing? Do you understand how you're harming your own audience? Hey, I'm monogamous. It's great. You're not monogamous. Well, and they go, well, what would my grandma say? These are men in their 30s and 40s because they're pussies. Why does big transitions in our life almost always come with pain and suffering? What's the theory behind it? There's no theory. That's the pain and suffering initiates the transition. If you're super happy and chill and relaxed and comfortable, are you going to choose a dangerous, painful transition? No. So it's the catalyst in most cases. Now, in my case, with this current transition, I wasn't in pain and suffering. I was good to go. So this is an unusual scenario. But my other ones were because of lacks. That's why. What system would you recommend someone who can't afford a personal chef but wants to stick to only eating natural, ancestral, non-processed foods if cooking is such a time sink? Use AI and tell AI, I want to eat foods with these parameters. I want to minimize the amount of time in my weekly food prep. Tell me exactly what I should prepare and how to prepare it with minimal time spent preparing, packing, and cleanup. It'll tell you. I watched Bernie Sanders do an interview with Joe Rogan, and now I like Bernie Sanders. Trump supporters love Bernie Sanders because Trump supporters, as I've been saying since 2016, are left-wingers. They're not woke people. They are left-wingers. That's why when Bernie Sanders went on Joe Rogan the first time, you had all these Trump supporters in the comments going, wow, this guy's fucking great. Trump supporters are socialists. Trump supporters love the welfare state. They love big government. They love UBI. If Donald Trump came out tomorrow and said, I'm going to pay, the government is going to pay for all your health care, Trump supporters would be like, this is great, because they're socialists. They're not woke. They're not insane 43 genders people, but they are left-wingers because America's a left-wing country, including Trump's. But I also like trying Trump and Chase Oliver. How is this possible? Because you are a left-winger, like most Trump supporters. And I feel very sorry for you. Do the Latino women call you gordito? Not in Paraguay, no. When you transitioned to Alpha 2.0 in 2008, were you already outcome independent? On a scale from 1 to 10, I was about a 6. It was 2007, not 2008. On a scale of 1 to 10, I was probably, my confidence was about an 8, and my outcome independence was about a, let's say a 5. So I was about a 5 on a scale of 1 to 10. Today it's an 11. So about a 5. So a little. I wasn't like a 2, like a lot of guys, but I wasn't outcome independent. No. When I would go on a date with a smoking hot, I remember the first time it happened in 2007, online dating. I sit down and the woman comes in and she is a fucking Barbie 10. Now today I have millions of those, but that was a new thing for me back then. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm just like freaking out internally. I had to calm myself down. And I was like, oh my God, if I had sex with her, it'd be amazing. So no, I was not going to be. Which comes first, your OI mindset or Alpha 2.0? Alpha 2.0 for most people. You have to learn. Part of the transition Alpha 2.0 is increasing your outcome independence. How did you get your teeth fixed and how expensive was it? In my case, I had a big gap in the middle of my 2 front teeth, like David Letterman. I used Invisalign. It cost me about $4,000, but this was like 10 years ago now, 7 years ago. It took about 6 months. I had to wear trays. Any recommendation for crooked teeth? Yeah, Invisalign. Check it out. How do I go about transitioning from still feeling like a virgin even after losing it? More sex. You don't lose your virginity feelings by getting laid once or twice. Several times. I've talked about this many times. I lost at age 29, 3 months ago, just turned 30 last month. Get laid more. Even if you got to pay for it, get laid more. Get your body and your brain comfortable with having sex with a woman, and then it's easy. It seems like you're surprised with your own transitions because you said you thought Alpha 2.0 was your last transition. Right. I'll get to your question. So here's my problem. This is a mental reframe I'm still working on. I'm still working on this because I don't buy it 100%. I need to. And a lot of you are in this category. The fantasy, which is a fantasy that doesn't exist, like Narnia and Lord of the Rings and socialism, the fantasy that doesn't exist is when I do this transition on that one or whatever, I'm done for the rest of my life. I don't need to do any more transitions. I can just relax and live and do what I want with my life. I don't have to go through this again. Almost like retiring. It's not true. It's not, especially the era we live in. It's not. You're going to go through transition after transition after transition. So I would like to say that as of next year, next April, when I hit all these goals, I'm done with transitions and I never need to fucking do them again. But that's not true. 5 years later, I'll have to do another one. I don't know what it is. At this point, I don't know what it is. I don't know what now, I always know what the next one will probably be. Now that I'm in the next phase of my life, next year, I don't know what the next one will be. I have no idea. I just know I'll be more than prepared with my physical life, my health, my mental resilience, the new man, the 2026 Caleb, which I need to become, my woman life, my finances, I'll be fine. My 5 flags, I'll be more than fine. So I'm sure the transitions I have going forward will be very minor compared to what I've gone through. But anyway, my question is, are transitions for something that happened by choice or they're forced? They all happen by choice. It's just that when you say forced, it's if you go through enough suffering, you say, fine, okay. But it's still a decision you make. So they all happen by choice. No one puts a gun to your head and makes you transition. Only you can do it. Therefore, it's all by choice. It's just that some of you, if you're a total pussy, it's going to take a lot more suffering. That's my view, is that the more suffering that forces you to transition, forces you in quotes, the bigger of a pussy you are. If you need 5 years of complete suffering and then you're like, all right, fine, you're a puss. If you're totally fine and relaxed like I was 2018, you decide to transition, you're a stronger man, my opinion. Would you say that phase 1 breakout is the most difficult of 3 phases? No. Breakout phase and empire building phase are both equally difficult. Self-actualization is the easiest one. You earn, the first 2 phases earn the third one. Do you agree that if one wants to know the future of the West, one has to only look at Japan? No, very different. But there are similarities, sure. 3 years ago, I saw a hot chick in the lobby of the apartment in my complex. She was visiting someone. My regret is I never asked her out. Now I see her on Instagram and that she's pregnant and with a bald white guy. She's 30 now. Should I wait a few years if she's still hot? You have extreme one-itis, move on and fuck someone else. What's your opinion on Alex Hormozi's books and business advice? Solid? Solid, but only applies to a fraction of 1% of his audience, and he's been honest and said this. Alex Hormozi's advice applies to me. Guys who make high 6 figures or 7 figures and want to go 8 or 9 figures. That's who it's for. It's not for 99% of people who watch Alex Hormozi videos are never going to do a goddamn thing he says. And to be honest, he's a good guy. He said it publicly. Yeah, no one's going to do this stuff. I'm looking for the fraction of 1% will do this shit. Less than Alpha Male 2.0. A lot of my audience won't do what I say, but there's a lot more of my audience that will do what I say than fucking Alex Hormozi. But his advice is solid, just doesn't apply to the vast majority of people. Are you going to build a 7-figure, 8-figure company and manage a big sales team? Is that what you want to do with your life? Probably not. I do, but you probably don't. Well, I'm very bullish on Southeast Asia, so am I. It is quite obvious that China is not going to be the future. It's going to be part of the future. It is not the world future. It's not going to run the world, correct? China is a load of trouble and is facing collapse sooner in the US year, if not worse. No, it is in big trouble. It's not going to face collapse sooner in the USA. That is incorrect. False. It's in for a lot of problems. Yes, it's not going to collapse. China will not collapse. I've been right about this. I've been consistently right about China. It will not collapse, but it'll have lots of problems. America had lots of problems going from zero to a world power. Civil wars and assassinations, and not recessions, but multiple depressions. It almost went bankrupt several times. This is a normal part of growth. But yeah, China's got some serious problems. You're absolutely right about that. Went to a bachelor party last weekend, and I was the only one not in a committed relationship, all 30s, but still pulled young women on both nights. It was an interesting dynamic. As one, I thought, I haven't grown up yet. Growing up is a definition that is depends. Everyone has a different definition for the term growing up. I have a very specific one. It's when you're not relying on mommy, daddy, girlfriend, or job, and you have told mom and or dad, whoever's an asshole to you, to fuck off. 95% of men don't have that ability. I did it with both my parents at different points of my life. Shut the fuck up. I'm going to hang up this phone. You talk about it one more time. You're not going to see me for 3 years. Click. You don't have the balls to do that with your mommy and daddy because you're a big puss, especially if you're an Asian. But you're white guys too. Did your parents whoop your ass when you were a kid? No, my parents did not hit me. I got spanked by my dad, I think 3 times when he got really mad. That was it. So no, my parents didn't do that. Thank God. I'm very lucky. I attend the OI webinar on Sunday when we see the print materials. There's been a delay related to something else. It's coming the next day or two. What do you think of the urban professionals looking for a trustworthy car mechanics as a niche? You made that up. It's not a niche. You don't know if that's a huge niche. You don't know. You made that up. No, that's not a niche. I am not into Latina women, but once I saw a hot Latina, why does this happens when a particular type of woman you're not interested in, and then you see when she is hot? That doesn't happen. That's just you. You're weird. That's fine. You should have sex with whatever you like. From your observations, what type of women do Latino guys particularly do well with? Any. Latino men have game, unlike white guys. Latino guys have game. White guys don't. White guys are nerds and dorks. What happened if we failed in our big transitions? I mean, like not all of our transitions are going to be successful, right? That's up to you, Alex. You decide. You can pussy out. You can't fail. You can only quit. When it comes to a transition that is full of suffering, you can't fail. You can only quit because eventually you'll get there. Unless you're retarded, and you're probably not retarded. So you can't fail. You will only quit. You will fail and fail and fail. I have failed so many fucking times last 2 years. Ugh, painful to think about. I don't want to think about it, but I'm still doing it. I'm still moving, and I make progress. The good news is another technique is you focus on your wins, which you talked about. I focus on my daily wins, my weekly wins, my monthly wins, and my quarterly wins. And I always have a lot, so I'm making massive progress. But it's up to you. That's up to you, dude. Totally up to you. How do you know for sure your mission is the one? You read it, and your whole body and your whole mind and your whole soul and your whole heart says, yes, exactly. If it doesn't say that, it's not your mission. If you go, yeah, that's pretty good. No, that's not your mission. Can we simply replace the word transition with goals? No, some goals are easy. Meditate once a week this week. That's easy. Seems like all transitions in your life have to do with setting new goals. Thoughts? No. I've hit thousands of goals. They weren't transitions. Totally different thing. Nope. Some big goals require you to become a different man. That's a transition. I've said this before when I talk about my weight loss stuff. If you need to lose 25 pounds, do you need to become a whole different man? No. If you need to lose 100 pounds, do you need to become a whole different man? Yes. So losing 100 pounds is a transition. Losing 25 pounds is not a transition. It's a goal. You need to completely rewire your brain to lose 20 pounds? No, anyone would do that. Nope. In $1 Million Consulting, Alan Weiss stated that he uses Filofax for time management. What are your thoughts? I don't even know what that is. I know that term. I don't use it. It doesn't matter what you use for time management, as long as you use something. Use a system. Doesn't matter if you use Excel spreadsheets, Trello, Notion. Doesn't fucking matter. I've said this for 20 years. Doesn't matter the app that you use. People are all focused on the app. Doesn't matter. Would you recommend aiming a little too high for your vision, or should it be as realistic as possible? Neither. It should be whatever you want, whatever you truly want. Your vision comes from your heart and your inner being. So it's whatever you want. You don't say, well, is this realistic or not? No, you put it down. If that's really what you want. Now, as I talk about the Unchained Man, it has to come from you, not the external world. So you say, I want a Bugatti. You're just trying to copy Andrew Tate, you pussy. What do you want? Not Andrew Tate. What do you want? I was monogamous in my 20s because I was told by society a successful man has a monogamous wife. And the way marriage works is you only fuck her and she only fucks you. And then when you have sex, when you try to have sex, she'll say no and you argue. That's normal. And so that's what I did. It wasn't what I wanted. I thought it was what I wanted. It was what society told me I should want. So it has to be from you. As long as it's from you, you put it down. Doesn't matter if it's realistic or not. By the way, what I did, I'm not recommending this because I'm a maniac and most of you are not maniacs. Most of you are not focused, high testosterone, alpha male workaholics like me. Some of you are, most of you aren't. So here's what I did in 2018. I've mentioned this before. One of the numbers I came up with was how much money I would make per month after taxes. Okay. And so I used my vision and I've talked about this technique. I assigned numbers to every one of those items, monthly expenses, did a spreadsheet, and I looked at my total amount I need per month to make this life real. And I had this gigantic number I need per month after taxes, a huge number. I didn't see if I was realistic or not. I said, okay, this is what I want. This is what I need. I got to go get it now. What I did in 2018, and I talked about this in Freedom Fortress, I doubled it. I said, well, what about inflation? What if I change my mind between now and 2026? What if, who knows? So let's fucking double that number. So the number I'm going after, a lot of these are double what I actually need or what would make me happy. But that would make me 100% comfortable knowing I now have double what I need, no matter what fucking happens. If America collapses tomorrow, I don't give a fuck because I have double what I need. That's what I did. What I recommend in Freedom Fortress, you take that number and you maybe add 20% to it, just as a little buffer, just in case. Now, what you can also do, and what I also have done since then, I'll be honest with you, is my preferences have changed over the years. So I've taken that, what I call I have this spreadsheet when I review my goals every week, my big goals, and I have this spreadsheet called My Main Number, and it has all these numbers in it of what I want and the monthly income number. Especially lately, I go through that list and I go, do I still want this expense? I don't want this. Actually, it's not because, oh, this isn't realistic, I better reduce the number. That was the thought. The thought was, I don't really want this. For example, I don't own a car. So many years ago, I just crossed off the car. I don't want a car. Stupid to own a car unless you're a car guy in the modern era. Did 2 YouTube videos about this. So some of these items I've reduced. The type of dream home that I want is different today than it was back in 2018. Today it was much bigger. Now it's much smaller. And I'm not going to live with Pink Firefly anymore. And so some of these numbers get lower and some have gotten higher. Let's see here. What do you think of Grant Cardone's 10X Rule? Fantastic book. I reread it often. I agree with most of it. I'm confused. Hearing your stories, turn out you experience so much pain and suffering in life. No, I'm 53. I'm talking about a few transitions that lasted 6 months to a year each. 2 or 3 of them. The vast majority of my life has been a 10 in happiness. So that's incorrect. Before hearing about today's stories, I thought you were the happiest person on earth as you claimed. I am. Even with these problems, I am. I'm still the happiest guy you will meet. I am. Guess what I'm doing today? Can't tell you, but it's good. Guess how much money I've made in the last 6 months? It's good. But within my context, I'm going through suffering. I know that's hard to understand, but what I'm telling you is the truth. I'm not unhappy, but I am going through suffering. Is it every day? No. I said this. Is it every day? No. Is it every month? No. Sometimes. Well, the past 2 years and more. Didn't realize you were streaming. I was watching a fish tank. It's Big Brother meets 4chan. What? How do we raise healthy kids feeling loved by us if we don't live with them or live abroad? First of all, you need to be around your kids a minimum of 6 to 7 months a year. If you do that under that, I have no easy answers for you. I'm sorry. You can't be a good dad if you see your kids 3 months a year. I'm sorry, you can't. Six, 7 is the minimum. And then they're in that 6, 7, you spend time with them. Even when I was the heat of building my companies after my divorce, my daughter was over at my house 3 days a week, every week. It wasn't like every other weekend, like a lot of guys. And then for the summer, she was there most of the summer. My son already had a car by then, so he came over whenever he wanted. So I spent a lot of time with my kids. Even when I was dating all these girls and building these companies, I set aside time for my kids consistently. And then when my daughter was 15 or 16, she moved in with me and lived with me full time for about 3 or 4 years. So she was 18. Because as I've taught on my blogs, women go through a phase when they're about 13 or 14 where they hate their mothers. Teenage girls hate their moms. They like their dads. They hate their moms, right? If you're a woman, right? She's like, yeah, it was me. Yeah. So she hated her mom. She called me up and said, I hate my mom. Can I come live with you? I said, sure. The rules are different living with me than living with your mom. But yeah, come on over. She lived with me for years. So it's been a long time. That's you do it. Spend time. Time. Is the only way to kill your weaker self by doing something drastic that gets you out of your old rut, out of your comfort zone. Not one specific thing, but it's a consistent process that gets you out of your comfort zone. Yes. Yes. When I was going on first dates in 2007, I was not in my comfort zone at all. When I've been building these new business models, I am way outside my comfort zone. I'm a pretty confident guy. I'm like, God damn, I hope this works. And then it doesn't. When I'm fasting and I'm only eating 1 hour every 48 hours, you think I'm in my comfort zone? No. By the way, starting tomorrow, I'm switching to fasting 2 days and eating once every 72 hours because I'm tired of this shit and I want to get to my 185 pounds. But that's not in my comfort zone. But it's not like, oh, I have to jump out of an airplane to get out of my comfort zone. I'm not talking about a singular event. Do you think having a 35-year-old long-distance MLTR hot Brazilian, you should not have long-distance MLTR. It's not recommended. Terrible idea. When I'm 27, it's too big of a gap. I don't recommend long-distance MLTRs. Long-distance FBs, not. Yes, long-distance MLTR, no. They don't last. They leave. FBs can stick around long-distance. MLTRs get boyfriends. They leave and never see them again. I have to stress thanking you for the rat turd versus Superman stream you made. Rat turd versus Superman? I constantly used to rationalize I was forever retarded because of the instant thoughts convinced me otherwise. No, it was the rat. I don't remember what you're talking about, but okay. How do you feel about the anxiety that arises when you feel like you should already have met a goal? I have that right now. I have that right now, dude. I'm right there with you. I'm hard on myself. Yeah, man, bro. You should have already have met a goal, or does that feel like the goal is taking forever? You keep going. You don't sit there and be, I have anxiety. You alpha up and keep going. You don't sit there and have anxiety. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I've never said this publicly. Anxiety is the biggest beta male emotion of all of them. Caleb, you understand. Some people have anxiety because I don't give a fuck. Having anxiety. Beta. Fear is different than anxiety. That's different. You can have fear sometimes. Anxiety? Oh, no. Pussy. Get to fucking work. And I feel the same way. I've said this many times. My net worth and my income at this point in my life with my business background and my abilities should be not way, but significantly beyond where they are now. Now, my excuse is, and it's a valid excuse, I spent the past 20 years focused 50% of my energies on building the most amazing woman life literally in existence, better than billionaires, better than celebrities. So I got that. So that's why I can justify, all right, I don't make quite as much as certain other people who spend 100% of their time. Sam Evans makes more money than me. Well, I don't know if he does right now. He doesn't make a profit yet. But anyway, you get my point. But he's monogamous. Hey, I'm rewatching this when I wake up, but in case you didn't address it, it's impossible. It's Caleb Jones, LOL. Are you concerned about the gay war near you, Israel v. Palestine? Of course you have, lol. I already discussed this. Dubai has nothing to do with this. Go watch the video I did on the Unchained CEO several years ago about why Iran is never a threat to Dubai. Palestine v. Israel, that has nothing to do with UAE or Dubai. Literally nothing. Some guy tried to shame me for not wanting to get married by saying it's only because I think I can't. Yes, that's just called societal programming. This is in the UK and me showing how risky and nonsensical it is in the modern age. Okay? Move on. Why do you worry about some random guy? Or even if it's your best friend, he's wrong. If your best friend came up to you who you really like and said, 2 + 2 = 5. You think 2 + 2 = 4? You're a fucking moron. What a loser. Would that bother you? No. Why? Because you know he's wrong. It's the same thing. Whenever someone comes up to me, and they don't anymore because they don't have the balls, but for many years when people said to me in person, online, you shouldn't be non-monogamous. The best way to do it is to find a good woman and be monogamous because that works the best. You think that bothered me at all? No, that's like saying 2 + 2 = 5. I know they're wrong. So I don't care. Okay. I go, okay. All right, psycho. All right, great. Doesn't bother me. Any tips how to maintain that good mood? Alex Hormozi quote. Yes. Number 1, my 3x5 card technique. Number 2, meditate regularly. Number 3, exercise regularly. Number 4, affirmations. Number 5, visualizations. Number 6, gratitude. Number 7, get lots of sleep. Number 8, optimize all of your hormones. That means testosterone, estradiol, thyroid, which is T3, and vitamin D. There's 8 right there. And most of you aren't doing any of those things. I do all of them plus more. I'm doing all those things. I always have. Part of Alpha 2.0. I'm going to start over. Do you recommend us to watch Alex Hormozi's content? If you want to make 7 or 8 figures as a workaholic business owner, absolutely, he's one of the best. There's a lot of guys you should watch. Cole Gordon, there's a whole bunch. Charlie Morgan, William Brown. Okay, if you're like, look, I just want to make 100,000 a year and I'm good, then Alex Hormozi is helpful, kind of, but not really. I'm living with my family until I leave May next year to live abroad. When my sister drinks, she acts like a banshee hag. You sound very young, Ralph Mack. She never admits her mistake when I'm sober. Have you ever dealt with a bitch sis? Don't spend time at home. When you wake up, take your laptop and go to a Starbucks or a library all day and come home late at night. If you live at home with your psycho family, don't be at home. Use it as a place I'm assuming you're a younger guy. Use it as a place to sleep, not to hang out. You're just going to have all kinds of problems. You hang out with your psycho family. So if you're a young guy, you haven't moved out of home yet, because you're still in the breakout phase, I don't have a laptop. Save up and get a fucking laptop. How do you operate in the world without a laptop? Get a fucking laptop, even if it's a Chromebook, and you hotspot your phone for internet. Something, okay? Wake up, take a shower, get your shit, leave. But Starbucks isn't open. For library, Starbucks, you can find a place. Don't be a pussy. And be gone all day and all night. Come home at 9 p.m., go to sleep. Just say, hi, mom, hi, dad, hi, cunt sister, go to sleep. My mission is to visit each country in the world. That's not a mission, that's a goal. What is more important, money, health, or your mission? Depends what your mission is. You need money and you need health and you need woman stuff. That's the foundational basis of your life. So those are foundational. You need to have those no matter what. Your mission's on top of those. What should I prioritize the young guy in his early 30s? The breakout phase. Do you still live at home? Yes or no? The answer is yes. Leave. Are you monogamous to any woman? The answer is yes. Get out of there. Number 3, do you have a job? You require a job to pay your bills. The answer is yes. Start business builder, get a business, get the fuck out of there. That's what you need to focus on. If you've accomplished all those things, then it's time to work on your mission. Whatever that is, figure it out if you're over 30. Told dad about you yesterday. He's illicit. Well, most of you are too. Yeah. He tried doing the whole, he divorced fallacy you talk about. This morning, he tried to rationalize he's somehow superior. Whatever, you're my guy, bro. Cool. Can you share more details about your current transition? I did. What would you say is a good ROI for a 5-day automated online dating blitz in terms of attractive matches and dates? I cannot answer that question because I don't know how old you are. I don't know how you look. I don't know what city you live in. I don't know what culture you live in. I don't know these details. A lot of variables to that. Sigma sounds a lot like Alpha 2.0. Thoughts? There's a video on this channel called Alpha Male / Sigma Male. Watch that video. I describe it entirely in that video. How about a niche in which I help wedding planners who plan wedding for a certain nationality of people? You just made that up. That's not a niche. You cannot make up a niche. And you don't know if that's helping planning you don't know if that's their biggest problem. So no, the niche is wedding planners, and that's too broad. Narrow down a type of wedding planner that you didn't make up. It sounds like you made it up. Type of wedding planner that exists in the real world, and then you call them, ask them what they need help with. You don't volunteer. I'll help you plan weddings. They may not need that help. How do you deal with Disney idealistic thinking from a 19 to 23-year-old women when dating as a man in his 30s? You love them. I don't mean literally, but you love them, and you're understanding. And you smile and you cuddle with them. And you be the cool FB, MLTR, or boyfriend. Well, you can't be a boyfriend if they're under 23. The cool paternal figure. That's it. You accept them. You'll say, well, look, that's ridiculous. You need to grow up. Don't do that to young girls. They don't care. What happens if we never go into transitions? What's the cost of not going into transitions? Whatever negative aspects of your life that you hate now exist forever, for the rest of your life, going to age 90 or 100. How does that sound? Now, if you already love your life, you don't need to do any more transitions. You're done. But if you go, oh my God, that's the problem. I needed to hear this. Good. Is being disciplined and taking action mainly a matter of willpower? Initially, it can be. Yes, initially. Forever, it can't be. Eventually, you get to habit. But yeah. Or can we get some kind of structure to reduce the grind of applying willpower every day? Yes. Read the book. Willpower doesn't work. Now, again, as I've said, even if you read that book and do everything in that book, which is a good book, I recommend it, you're still going to have to use willpower sometimes. Anyone who says you could lose 60 pounds without any willpower, it's lying. They're lying. I can't stand these people on the internet who say, you can lose all the weight you want, 60 pounds, and you'll never be hungry. If you follow this diet or this plan, you'll never be hungry. Lies. You will be fucking hungry sometimes. Lies. Lies, lies, lies. You will suffer. David Goggins is right. He goes too far with it, but he is right. I don't agree that white guys are generally dorks and nerds. Really? Do you know any white guys? I know a lot. They're generally dorks and or nerds. 100% no, but the majority of modern day Western white guys are dorks. Yeah. Overall, they have the highest appeal to women. Good-looking alpha male white guys who are not dorks and nerds have appeal to women. We're not talking about the women, the small subset of what women like. We're talking about white guys in general. So your statement makes no sense. How do we know what transition we need to go? What are the parameters? What is causing pain in your life? That's what you need to transition out of. And it's one of the three areas: women, financial, or fitness or health. Women, financial / fitness. If you're under 35, it's probably not fitness. So it's probably woman or financial. I'm poor, I have no money, I hate it. Or I'm never getting laid, I hate it. Or I'm in a monogamous relationship, I hate it. There you go. That tells you need a transition. Working a job cold calling now, it fucking sucks. I agree. Should I stay and get experience, or should I do a big B2B business instead? You do a B2B business right now in the evenings. You don't have to quit your job unless you have a lot of money in savings. Start your B2B business right fucking now and get it done in the evenings. And get that to a few thousand a month so you can quit your goddamn job. What do you do when you move or travel to a place with a different time zone? I don't understand the question. I adjust and I move on. You talking about jet lag? I have a whole video about jet lag on Unchained CEO channel. Go watch it. You may or may not said we get lifetime access to your materials. Depends what product you buy. Well, I don't know. I bought a How to Create Open Relationships PDF from you in 2013. Another relationship I get. Send an email to theonlyblackdragon@gmail.com and send whatever receipt you have, or email you, place the order or something. We keep track of all orders. Yeah. When deciding to go into big transitions, do you just follow your gut? Alex, you're asking too many of the same dumb questions. You know where you're in pain. Address that. That's it. Don't overthink it. You're being holistic and overthinking it. Is Guadalajara or Asuncion better if you want to raise a family? I'm 29, but I eventually know I will have a family. I also want to take care of my sister who has autism, as well as once my mom dies. If that's your number one priority, probably Guadalajara a little bit, because Guadalajara has more resources, medical facilities, good schools than Asuncion. Asuncion doesn't have anything. Has some of that stuff, but not much. Asuncion's out in the middle of nowhere, and it's lower in country and very small town. And so if your number one priority is raise a family, I would lean in the direction of Guadalajara. Guadalajara is awesome. You'll love it. Guadalajara is the shit. I miss Guadalajara. I haven't been there in a long time. Thanks for raising kids, Angstrom. It's really important to me. We agree. We don't want to live with our kids 3 days a week, all summer long. I would. I don't agree with that. I would live with my kids. There's rules to the house. When my daughter moved in with me when she was 15, she lived 100% with me for 4 years. I said, hey, daughter, hey, Alyssa. I did a video with her on this channel. Watch it. Here's the deal, Goop. I call her Goop. Listen, Goop. I am the opposite of your mother. Your mother screams at you and yells at you and gives you drama and is hysterical at you, but she never punishes you because that's how moms work, as I've written about in my books. I am the exact opposite. I will never get mad, as you know, Goop, because I never have. I don't get mad. I'll never yell at you. I'll never bother you. I'll respect you. I'll love you. But there are rules here. You can't leave a mess in my kitchen. Your dog can't shake a shit on my carpet. Any of these happen, you got 2 or 3 warnings, and I kick you out of my house. Do you understand? So there's consequences, but no drama. With your mom, it's nonstop drama, no consequences. Do you understand? Yes, Dad, I understand. I'll do it. And she did. And she had to make an adjustment living with me. A little different living with Dad than living with Mom. And that was the next question one of you asked. What are the rules you have for your daughter? I had 3 or 4 basic rules about not fucking up the house. Oh, I had another rule. Daddy, you know Daddy's lifestyle with women. So there are times you need to leave. You need to get your tablet and go to McDonald's for 2 hours, 3 hours. Well, Dad brings FBs over. Well, I want to meet him. Well, you can meet 1 or 2 of the MLTRs, and she did. And eventually she met Pink Firefly. But outside of that, I was asking ChatGPT about the collapse, and it was giving me pushback and lower likelihood of U.S. collapse even after I told it to watch your video. It is less confident that it'll happen. Okay, great. ChatGPT isn't right 100%. I love ChatGPT. I use it every day. But I also use Gemini and Grok and Claude. Ask them those questions, and you get an average. And even they could all be wrong, or they could all be right. And again, you have to define collapse. You can't say, hey, ChatGPT, will America collapse? It doesn't know what you mean by collapse. I have 5 collapse scenarios. Give them those scenarios. Feed them those from Freedom Fortress or my blogs. What is the 3x5 card technique? You need to watch the live stream I did at this channel about 3 weeks ago called The One Technique That Changed My Life or something. So one of you could put if one of you could put the title of that video in the chat, that'd be useful. It's like 3 or 4 weeks ago on this channel. I describe it in detail. Would you consider Mike Weston from Burn Notice as an alpha male 2.0 archetype? I've never watched that show. I don't like TV. TV's stupid. How long can a transition last max? Alex, stop asking the questions. Is a therapist that specializes in PTSD a good niche? No. Almost all therapists say they specialize in that. That is absolutely way too broad. And therapists don't have a lot of money. One of the requirements for niche is they have to have plenty of money to give you thousands of dollars. Therapists are poor. Not a good niche. Love your Ben Affleck quote earlier. Ben was the best Batman. I agree with you. I agree. All right. I have gone way overboard here on this live stream. I got to go. 2 or 3 more questions. I got to get out of here. Are there problems with our kids if we don't live with their mom or they live with us? No, that's okay as long as you spend significant time with your kids. Time. It's not about quality time with raising children. It's about time. Minutes. And watching TV or a movie does not count as time. Real time spent with your children. My kids turned out pretty fucking well. Josh is amazing. Alyssa's pretty good. She's very talented because I spent fucking time. And I didn't judge them and yell at them like an alpha male 1.0. And I wasn't a pussy like a beta male father and spent time. So sorry, I'm just new to this. I never had kids. I grew up, none of us ever had kids, dumbass. Before I had kids, did I ever have kids? If there was more money in giving parenting advice, I would have read an entire book and an entire course on how to be an alpha male 2.0 father to raise great kids. Most of you wouldn't buy it, so I can't do that. There'd be no money in it, but I'd love to. And you're going to say, I would, Caleb. Yeah, you're the 2% who would. Do you agree that you can transmute anger into productive action and thus use that as fuel to grow into your future self? For a while, yes, I addressed that in The Unchained Man. Yes, for a while. Long term, I think it's toxic. You don't want to be Grant Cardone, who is constantly out to prove shit to people that he said would not make. That's not good, not healthy. But as an impetus, yes. To have it sustain you, anger, for 30 years or 5 years, no. But to start, yes, yes, yes. Cool. All right, you're all saying thank you. All right, awesome. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Oh, there's one more question. When is it okay to spend 2 days a week with an MLTR? You can do it right now. as long as it's contiguous. She spends the night. She comes over Tuesday, spend the night, spend the day. Wednesday, she leaves. That counts as one visit. 2 separate days, Monday and Thursday, that's never allowed. You have to upgrade her to OLTR. Only if she qualifies. Most MLTRs will not. All right. I got to go. I'll see you guys tomorrow at the Unchained CEO channel. Have fun. Bye.